Should Ron DeSantis run for president this year? The answer is a resounding yes. And here is why. Howdy folks, this is Tony here, and in this video, we are going to be talking about the 2024 Republican presidential nomination process and the possibility that Ron DeSantis could be running for president, and why I think that this could be a very good thing for American politics in general. Now, let me start by addressing some of the concerns of those of you who think Ron winning is basically doomed for the Republican Party. A lot of you will say something like, well, DeSantis needs to keep election fraud away from Florida, keep Florida a good place, and then save himself for 2028. And then Trump needs to finish his business from 2020 in 2024, and then everything will be great. Well, not necessarily. And here's why that is. First of all, Trump has his own problems. He has his own flaws. Yes, a lot of what he did was excellent. He was a way better president than Obama and Biden. He was, hell, even a way better president than Ronald Reagan. But he has his own areas of weakness that DeSantis doesn't necessarily have. And honestly, both of them could give each other a good run for their money. And that's good. Competition is what makes the party stronger. Competition is what makes an economy stronger. Competition is what makes a people stronger. And so if pretty much Trump can just waltz in unopposed, then he doesn't have to refine himself. He doesn't have to correct his approach. And that can lead to a lot of pride and arrogance, and that could ultimately be Trump's downfall. So in a scenario in which Trump wins the nomination after a hard fight against DeSantis, then in that fight against DeSantis, Trump would have had to learn how to, polish up his act, how to do a better job messaging, how to do a better job not alienating pro-lifers like he's done in the last, 4 months or so, when he blamed the 2022 red trickle on people being too far to the right with pro-life issues. That kind of stuff, to be honest with you, he deserves less votes, Or how about when he was president, using executive orders against people's Second Amendment rights, listening to Fauci and shutting down the economy, or promoting the alphabet agenda of perversion, which has, led to kids getting groomed on and whatnot. There are a lot of things that Trump has to answer for that he's not done well. And if there's a candidate like DeSantis who could be a foil for Trump, you got to think about this. When Trump was president, he pushed the alphabet agenda, whereas DeSantis as governor has the Stop Woke Act and things of that nature. And he's dismantling Disney, Disney's grip over Florida, whereas Trump let Fauci have a death grip over America. There are some really good reasons why DeSantis might be good competition for Trump. And frankly, Trump needs that. He needs that wake-up call of, hey, being the moderate rich boomer is not going to get you anywhere. Just because you were strong on the economy is not enough, because there are other issues facing Americans right now. Now, don't get me wrong, the economy is very important. A lot of the things that Trump did, for example, us not paying, into NATO as much or into the UN as much, pulling out of the Paris Accord, the Paris Climate Accord, pulling out of the World Health Organization. There were a lot of things that he did that were fantastic. But then he squandered it when he shut down the economy and let Fauci run things. And so when he did that, people were in a state of panic, and you could kind of see why people would be like, maybe if we change presidents, we'll get a return to normal. I am not saying that that alone is enough to account for the suspicious things that happened in 2020, but I'm just saying that he's got a lot that he has to answer for that maybe DeSantis doesn't have to answer for as much. And so look at it this way. There are only good sides. If Trump gets the nomination, he had to earn it. And if he had to earn it that strongly, then he will walk away a better president for it if he should win in 2024. But if DeSantis gets it, then we have a guy who probably has a little more, how shall I say this, tact, who probably has a little less of a stain on his record, because you have to understand something. Family values are very important, and it's something this country is walking away from. And it's something that maybe Trump, he's got his strengths, but he's also got his weaknesses in his personal life, and people will look at you and use that to decide whether they want to vote for you. Now, that doesn't explain why people voted for Joe Biden, because his personal life is worse than Trump's, but that's a whole nother issue. The whole point I'm making is Trump needs a kick in the pants. Trump needs a fire to his feet. He needs someone to pull him to the right, or someone to actually defeat him and be a better president than he would have been had he gotten 4 more years. So I, as a conservative voter, don't really see a downside to this. You know, if I were DeSantis and I were in an RNC hosted debate against Trump, I would say something like, you know, I, as the governor of Florida, have pushed pro-Second Amendment movements, while you, as the president, took executive action against the Second Amendment. I, as governor, kept Florida open, while you, as president, listened to Dr. Fauci and shut the country down. I, as governor, you know, did this over here, while you, as president, did that over there. I, as governor, won my state soundly, whereas you, as president, you know, have had your series of failures and defeats. I would somehow say that. And, you know, if I were Trump, my response would be, it's a lot more of a burden when you have to take care of a whole country versus taking care of a state. So it's easy for you to get on your high horse and talk about what you've done in Florida because you didn't have the same headwinds of a hostile Congress and a hostile court, like hostile federal courts like I have. I have appointed more judges, and in fact, some of the judges I have appointed have benefited you as governor. You know, I want to see a fiery, intense exchange happen between these two men where it really lets the voters know who to vote for. It really helps whoever's going to nominate them make a fully informed decision. I want to see mega donors not have a voice in this whatsoever. This needs to be between two men who have a strong vision for the country, but which vision is the strongest is the one that ought to prevail. That's something I think would be awfully interesting. Now, if Trump should get the nomination, then when he gets into a debate with Biden, what I think Trump should say, you know, let's say Biden brings up 2020 and says, ha ha, you're still sore about 2020. You divided the country because of January 6th or whatever. Here's what if I were Trump, would say to Biden. I would say, look, regardless of how we feel about who truly won the 2020 election, the fact is, Biden, you got what you wanted. You were sworn in as president in January of 2021. And since that time, you have made all of us poorer, less safe, and more miserable, and you have not taken care of one thing you pledged to take care of. You promised to unite the country. Now we have toxic spills, we have kids shooting each other, and we have all kinds of violence in the streets, and our border is not secure. You've done nothing, so I don't want to hear about 2020 because you've made us a lot more miserable since you took office. That's what I would say. I would not, to be honest with you, I would not focus on who you think really won the 2020 election. I would focus on, since January of 21 up until this day, how has our country fared under your tenure? And I would say, under your tenure, we've been miserable. That's why you got to go. And even if DeSantis were to get the nomination, someone might say to DeSantis, do you agree or disagree with that the 2020 election was stolen or whatever? I would, as DeSantis, say, hey, I just want to bring Florida's success to the rest of the country. That's what I would say as DeSantis if I were running for president. So I think that healthy competition makes men strong. It's kind of like that Bible verse that talks about iron sharpening iron. And that's something we need to see because, quite frankly, Trump has a track record of, you know, a mixed record, but certainly more accomplished than Biden's. DeSantis has a very strong record, but it's only been in a state where he has not had as much hostility towards him as Trump has. So either one has their pluses and minuses, and I think that this would only be a positive move for the country for conservatives to have healthy debates instead of just being so beholden to one personality. If DeSantis becomes president, I do not want to see people developing a cult of personality around DeSantis like they did around Trump. Now, that doesn't mean we need to be people like Flimsy Graham or people like Mitch McConnell, where we only care about the uniparty. That needs to go. But at the same time, we need to get rid of the uniparty and we need to get rid of cult of personalities around somebody. Because think about it. Trump has done a better job than most presidents, but has he really done a perfect job? No. And the fact that people look so highly up to Trump, despite the fact that he did a decent job, that's how low our standards are. You can do better than Trump. You can do better than DeSantis. You can do better if you put forth your effort. And I think that we need to celebrate excellence, not worship people. That's what I think that, you know, we need as a country to have a stronger national character and have a stronger national debate on issues that affect all of us. Have a great day, everyone.